Not great, Bob. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on all the socials at Cody_CHGO. Illinois loses 88-65 in a absolute bloodbath in Indianapolis tonight after pounding Iowa last night. 24 hours later, they get their own pounding. I don't have a lot to say about this, but I wanted it to be longer than 5 minutes. So I forced Sonny Verma, host of Locked On Illini, to come back here and talk about this one with me, because I guess I just need some perspectives here. Let's start with the game. We can talk about Selection Sunday at the end. We'll talk about a few players. I know some people are probably fired up about Kasparis Giakoušionis at least, and maybe a few more. But Sonny, how are we feeling, man? I have yet to watch your post game that you just finished, so this is new to me.
So then this might surprise you. Like, I'm not nearly as down as everyone else is. Sometimes when you watch basketball as long as I have, you just know it's just not your day. You know, and yeah, it's a frustrating aspect of this basketball team, this Brad Underwood team, that we just had one of these like 5 games ago. But Cody, spin zone. Last time we got beat this bad, they won 4 in a row.
There you
we're
go.
On our way to the Final Four.
I like that.
You know, it's you know, on a serious note, it's one of those where I mentioned on the post game of Locked On Illini, it's if Illinois had lost by like 10, 15 points, but they were clearly the inferior team to Maryland, I think I'd be more upset. This was just a game where literally a guy is laying on the ground, writhing in pain for his hamstring, all of a sudden gets up, gets the ball, shoots a three-pointer, gets fouled, and the ball goes in.
Yeah.
And nobody on Illinois had a good game. You know what I mean? It was just one of those days where you burn the tape and you just kind of toss it out, because it's, you know, if we got beat in a good basketball game, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But this is just nothing went right. So it's one of those where all I can do is like sit back and laugh. And it's Maryland, a team that for whatever reason, Brad just can't beat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're a really good basketball team. I know a lot of Illini fans are very upset right now, and I don't blame you, but we lost a really good basketball team today. And, you know, I'm sure we're going to talk about this later about, you know, NCAA tournament expectations. You know, this might adjust things a little bit, but I think this could be good for the Illini.
Yeah. Before I give my 2 cents, for the people who are here, please hit the like button on the YouTube video. It helps other Illini fans find this, and subscribe if you're new here. So, I actually feel I'm not surprised by what you're saying. This is not just because I feel like I know you well, but also I came into the Big Ten tournament hoping to just win one. Yeah. Like I did not feel good going up against Maryland. I thought, or I hoped, that perhaps they'd play better against them this time compared to what happened in January, because I thought the team had turned a corner. I thought the team was playing its best basketball of the entire season. They were healthy. No one is sick. You know, and I'll say this, the loss, it doesn't hurt like the Duke one did, even though I knew we were going to lose the Duke. I think the reason the Duke loss hurts worse is because you lost by 43 and it was on national television. I mean, this is on Big Ten Network. It's the Big Ten tournament. It's March, whatever. I guess it's still bad. But Maryland, I think, is just good at the same time. And a lot of Illini fans always, when we lose to Maryland, they always point out, we always have more talent than them. And maybe this Illini team as a whole probably might have more quote unquote talent than Maryland. But Derek Queen is no joke. And Julian Reese, for some reason, owns Illinois. And he didn't even have that great of a game today.
Yeah.
The difference in this game today is that the guards for Maryland did what the bigs did to Illinois in January. Like, I was expecting Queen and Reese to get a full dose, and they did it early, and they had some success. They also missed some freebies, and Illinois kind of hung around the first 5 minutes. But the moment Tommy Ivisic hit the bench with 2 fouls, and then things got bad, and Brad was forced to bring him back in because with the size that Maryland has, it's just like he gets his 3rd foul with 8 minutes to go in the first half. Like, for Illinois to win this game, they were going to need everything to go right on top of playing well. And not only did they not exactly play well, but the things that they needed to go right for them didn't go right for them. So I'm not saying that because Tommy got 3 fouls in the first half is the reason they lost, but it is an added factor into why they lost by as much as they did. I think that's fair to say, because if he doesn't get in foul trouble, I think he at least has a better game than he had, because when you get 3 fouls with 8 minutes to go in the game, perhaps you can get into the flow of the game at some point. He was awful tonight, and it was largely just because he was not in the flow of the game. There was no rhythm from him. I think I should give Maryland some credit since they're a top 10 defensive efficiency team in college basketball as well. And it's not like Queen and Reese are bad defenders. So all of that is what it is. I think Maryland actually just really deserves a lot of credit here. And everyone, and this is not just Illini fans, I think this is just fans, sports fans in general. When your team loses, we want to sit here, we want to blame someone.
Yeah.
And I just feel like in this game, you were going to need a lot of things to go right. And then you're going to have to play well to win this game. And things didn't go right for them. For example, what you said, Rice hitting the 3 after it seemed like he had a cramp of sorts on the floor on the middle of the court, and somehow stands back up and shoots a 3, gets fouled. Like, that was the icing on the cake for this one. Like, everything went right for them, and I think they're really good. Do I think they're as good as what they played tonight on a regular basis? No, but how many times have we said that about Illinois? Whenever they, how they beat Michigan, how they beat Oregon, like, some days teams just have their best game, and Illinois got Maryland's best game tonight, and I think they're a dangerous team, and I think they could go and give Michigan State a good shot in the Big Ten tournament championship and maybe make some noise in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, it's just, I think on the flip side, on the negative, it's just disappointing to see this team end this run with a loss like that. It in many ways, I guess you can say it in many ways, like, you can say you would have rather have lost by like a couple possessions and you'd at least feel better, I guess. But I don't necessarily think that's true either, because every time there's a game like that and you lose, we're always picking at Brad and his coaching decisions. We're picking at KJ's turnovers or whoever. So there's always something that's going to make us all feel worse, right? So yeah, I'm just that's why I needed you to come here and talk with me, because I don't have an enlightening take on this game. It sucked. And I give myself a lot of credit for sitting through and watching all 40 minutes of it, Sonny.
Yeah, it's tough. I think the only thing I learned from this game is that even when healthy, even when this team is like full, ready to go, they really are matchup dependent. If they go up against a team that can match their size and really just go at Illinois physically, more often than not, that gets Illinois stunned a little bit. And it takes some time for them to kind of adjust. Now, they did it against Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue went up early, and Illinois was able to come back, take the lead, lose the lead, and come back. Mm-hmm. But today, they just never had an answer from the beginning. I think Kevin Willard even said in the post-game press conference, I just saw a tweet about it. I didn't get a chance to watch because I go live immediately after the game, so I don't get to watch the press conferences yet.
Yeah.
But I think Kevin Willard said something along those lines that, this Illinois team is talented, but they're young. And so they wanted to basically be up in their faces, be really physical right off the bat, because then you can kind of rattle this team. Mm-hmm. And my hope was that, because more often than not, Illinois puts on more talent on the court than the opposition, that when they were healthy, that, they'd be matchup independent. It wouldn't matter. But the only thing I've learned from this game, again, I'm not down. I'm curious about your opinion. Jay's comment just made me laugh. I'm curious about your opinion. My mind has not changed one way or the other about this team a week from now when actual March Madness hits.
Yeah. No, I don't think this game affects their seeding in a negative way. And I still feel like Illinois is playing with house money, whether it's next Thursday or next Friday. I think they'll be a 6 seed, maybe a 7 if, things don't fall their way. So it's not like they're a high seed with high expectations. They're kind of a low seed with a high ceiling, type situation. But you just don't know what you're going to get out of them. So I'm going into the tournament with no expectations whatsoever. I mean, the standard is the Sweet 16 every year with this program now, right? But for me personally, for me to, I guess get up for the game, whether it's next Thursday or Friday, that's how I have to view it in my head. And then however things play out, we'll grade the program, we'll grade Brad, we'll grade the players and all that when it's all over. But I don't feel any different about the team in general. And you just hope and pray that they don't have a matchup like a Maryland. And I'm not saying just like a team, like a team that has a record like Maryland or whatever. I'm talking about the players. They can't deal with that type of, they can't handle that kind of size that Maryland has. And it's crazy because in the first game, Maryland wasn't taking any shots outside. They took like 12 threes in that first game. This one, they take what, 23? 23 and made 11 threes.
And that's a frustrating thing. Like Illinois, if the way Illinois played defense all game long. Now, I know I'm saying this, having Illinois lost in the first game by 21 points to Maryland just because of this. But I'm telling you, put Brad Underwood in a room, give him some truth serum. If you say that Reese and Queen are going to cook down low and make difficult 2-point shots, he would be okay with that. He doesn't mind that. What this Illinois team tries to do is take away the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're so aggressive about on the offensive side. Yesterday, they couldn't do it against Peyton Sanford, but luckily their offensive firepower was better than Iowa's. Today, when Rodney Rice just went off in that first half, I think that is the reason we lost this game more than anything else. I mean, Queen had a solid game, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 11 from field goals. But when the opposition is making 3-point shots, Illinois' defense is geared towards stopping that. And that's how you know that the team might be in trouble at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Rice had a great game, 26 points, 7 of 9 from 3. It's crazy because Tanji for Wisconsin had a similar type game today. Big Ten Network couldn't stop talking about him. I wanted to throw up. So you put those two guys at the top of the best games of the day in college basketball. And I also thought Geronimo off the bench for Maryland, he did some things too, like especially in the second half where it's like, okay, you went to halftime, you were down 26 points, so whatever. I was hoping that the final score would be more respectable. Like if you're able to go on a run and give us some hope, but lose by 10, I would have been like, okay, you had a terrible first half, but you showed some heart in the second half, and I can have some optimism, just feel fine. But instead, it got worse, and it was over a 30-point game at some point in the second half, and it's just God, I don't know. I really don't know who to really blame in this one. I just felt like everyone was bad. Maybe Kylan is the only guy that I felt like had a decent game, but they turned the ball over however many times. I don't think it was really that much. Or no, they turned it over 17 times.
17 times. It was bad. To me, the only guy, and again, I know you watch the show usually. Like the second segment is when I talk about the MVP of the game, and I get the chat's opinion. For today, I literally was like, I don't even need an MVP. Just tell me one guy on this basketball team who had an average game. And to me, that was Morez Johnson. I actually really like from what I saw from him: 6 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks. The problem with this Illinois team, and Jay, I know you just watched me say this, but like they should ask Morez Johnson to run, to defend, and rebound. But the problem is today in particular, Will Riley in that first half passed up multiple open layups to try to give it to Morez, not in an opportunity where Morez just catches the ball and dunks it. Because that's fine. He can do that just fine. But the minute you make Morez Johnson make a move, bad things are happening. And he's just not there yet. And for some reason, that happened a lot today. Morez he's healthy now, but he's just getting back into the flow. And I felt like there's way too many opportunities that Illinois players had a chance to score themselves. But then, for whatever reason, decided to give it to Morez down low in positions that weren't there to set him up to succeed.
Yeah, that's a good one to have, actually. I guess I'm just thinking about him missing that dunk, and I was just going through it at the time.
I know.
But he did have, defensively at least, 4 blocks. His presence was shown, and I thought he did make up he made up for a lot of what Tommy wasn't on the court for. So for what it's worth, I guess they got blown out. So what does it matter? But I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm also like, why is Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn playing 3 minutes? Like, are we rinsing and have we entered the cycle again where I need to complain about that some more? Like, he came in and he took one shot. It was a mid-range jumper that I felt like wasn't a good shot. Does that get you off the court? Like, I don't know. And I guess in many ways I can understand why he's not playing, because going into the game, Riley's playing his best basketball, Boswell's playing his best basketball, all this, but KJ's been up and down. And I know he's not a point guard, but like we know Kylan can handle the ball. I just felt like DJL could have played some more.
If nothing else, DJL, like what he did early in the season was, knew as soon as he stepped on the court, he'd give you energy.
Yes.
And this team didn't have that today. Again, they just seemed rattled right off the start. It's just one of those, let's just see. You're already down 22 points with 10 minutes into the game. What's the harm of putting a guy like DGL in and see if you can spark a little turnaround? Silly old me, like I said in the Discord, I'm like, no, maybe not in the Discord, but in a, talking to some of the Big Ten huddle guys, I was like, Illinois can still tie this game at some point. Let's get it to 14 or 15 at halftime.
Yeah.
Because we started making a run, and the way this team shoots, they're never really out of it.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden Maryland does go on a run, and I think they're up like 22 points or something like that at halftime. And at that point I was like, okay, now I'm not feeling nearly as optimistic. But yeah, I mean, in a game like this, there's no reason to have a 7-man rotation, because clearly your 7 guys weren't getting it done. Jake Davis stunk. So, I'm usually, I like Jake Davis, and, I think he's a plus player, but he was doing nothing. Today might have been the day where you give DGL some run and just see what he does. I know, like you mentioned, Kylan didn't have a bad game, I guess, but you just needed somebody who would inject energy to this team, because the team looked lifeless. Will Riley, been our best player over the past month. He looked like he was outmatched today.
Yeah.
It looked like he was really being bothered by what we discussed earlier. Just the pure physicality of this Maryland team looked like, to me, had Will Riley, a little nervous.
I don't know how many layups they missed in the first half, but I know Will Riley missed at least 2 or 3 of them. So that's 6 points that you don't get. And it felt like every time they would miss one of those layups, Maryland would come down and score an and one or hit a 3 or something. It's just like, it's demoralizing. It's like, you guys are right there. You got to make these layups. And Will Riley has shown that he's a good finisher. And he to me, he had a worse game than KJ tonight, in my opinion, even though he didn't have 6 turnovers. I felt like KJ at least showed up offensively tonight. The turnovers are an annoying thing. That's been a thing all season, but all I see is KJ slander on the timeline whenever, but like Will Riley, 15 points. Oh, I felt like half of those came in the final 2 minutes of the game when it was out of reach. They were down 30 with under 5 to go, and they score some garbage time points, and he's one of them. It's just like, okay, I'm not trying to crap on Will Riley. I'm crapping on all of them. They were all objectively terrible, but this was Will Riley's worst game in a while, and hopefully he bounces back next week. But I felt like if they're going to win this game, when I go back to saying, you need things to go right for you, but also you have to play well. Like, he has injected himself as, one of the leading scorers on his team. He can't miss layups. He just can't miss easy layups like that, man. So,
but that's also like, why I started off saying what I did, right? It's just one of those where I don't picture him missing those type of layups. And again, collectively, Morez Johnson missed a dunk, as you mentioned. Like everything that could go wrong for this Illinois team just simply went wrong. This wasn't a bad game for Illinois. This was just a throw it away game. Like, oh my gosh, everything was so incredibly bad. And that's why I think, like, even now after the game, it's been over for almost an hour and a half now. It's just like, I mean, you and I have both talked about this. I watch your show whenever you're on. It's just like whenever the national media starts hyping up this Illinois team, we're due for one of these stinkers. And that's what's been happening over the last couple of games. And can you imagine if we'd won today?
Oh yeah.
And maybe tomorrow, all of a sudden, here it goes again. Yeah. Possible 5 seed. Nobody wants to face this Illinois team. Yeah. When does this team tend to excel? When finally everybody just crosses them off and doesn't think about doesn't take them seriously. And that's why I kind of maybe, and this is absolutely the glass half full version, but maybe this could be a good thing for the Illini. They have 1 week to see what happens Sunday. I'm excited to see what seed we get. I think I was texting back and forth with the bracketologist during that second half. He thinks very minimum we're 7, which is good. Because obviously you don't want to be an 8 seed and have that number 1 matchup in the second round. But he's pretty confident we're going to be either a 6 seed or a very high 7.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I kind of feel like they're at. And, they certainly could have had a higher seed this year if they just won games they were supposed to win. But I can do more complaining about that once the season is officially over. But overall, they gave me what I wanted in the Big Ten tournament. And I had just kind of a sour feeling here at the end. I was hopeful for a better result, but this is not what we got. All right, we have 8 minutes. So give me, I kind of mentioned it already, but like, give me on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about Kasparis Jakashonas? 10 being like panic mode.
6.5, 7. It's one of those where people in my chat were saying just bench him. You can't do that.
Yeah,
he still is your best player talent wise.
Yeah,
right. Like, you're not going to go anywhere without Kasparis Jakashonas. Like, he's a guy. If you have aspirations to make it to Sweet 16, Elite 8, whatever that is, that only happens with Kasparis being the Kasparis who literally carried this basketball team for the first half of the season. Like, we were begging just one other guy to show up and help him out because he was doing everything for this basketball team.
Yeah.
But he's had 12 turnovers in the last 2 games. And, again, the box score ends up looking okay, but not, this. I've talked about it before. I still think Kasparis can win us a game, but now we're at the point where it's one and done.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to need him. And so it's not at 5 where it's just like average. I'm more worried than higher than average. Let's put it that way. But I'm not panicking either because I just wish he would be like right now. The one thing that has me a little over 5 is he looks less assertive than he used to be. It looks like the fact that he's gotten 12 turnovers in the last 2 games. Who knows that stat? Him.
Yeah.
And I think, he's a little self-conscious about it. And that's what I don't want, because earlier on in the year when Kasparis was playing like this, Brad talked about, no, that's fine. We want KJ to be aggressive because that's how you get the magical plays from KJ. Right now, I'm just worried that he's getting too much in his own head, and we're losing out on that magic, on that KJ that we had for the first half of the season.
Yeah. I guess for me, I would go. I'm going glass half full. I'll go with a 4. I'll go with a 4, just because of what you said. Like first half of the season, this guy was a dude.
Yeah.
I mean, entering the season, they projected this guy as a top 20 pick, like not a lottery, top 20 pick. And now, like my comments on TikTok, on what I read on the timeline, YouTube chats and stuff, people are saying this guy's not a lottery pick, and it's like, I guess, but like what? I also feel like the scouts don't really care about his stat scores or stat sheets. They care about his size, the potential. They see how he can do certain things. Does he certainly need help with ball handling? Yeah, and turnovers. Yeah, like he definitely has flaws, but every prospect has flaws. I just think that this guy has struggled so much here down the stretch that he is so due. And I felt like we got a little bit of it today, at least on the offensive side, because he didn't have a good offensive game against Purdue. He hit that 1-3, and then he was terrible against Iowa. He did hit some shots tonight. He needs a game like he did against Michigan and Iowa before the first Iowa game, where they didn't turn the ball over and he got guys involved. I'm not even asking him to go out there and score 20 points. I'm asking him to just not turn the ball over and get guys involved. I put the line at 6.5 assists. You go over that, Illinois is going to have a good chance to win if they're doing all the other things. But for him individually, if he can give you 7 assists per game in the NCAA tournament, you got a good chance to win. So I don't know. I think the reason I'm glass half full is because I haven't forgot what he did to help the team get to this point.
For sure. And you and I, we're kind of on an island at this point.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fans out there who are a lot harder on KJ at this point.
I also have to remind myself that he's 18 and that he's a lot of guys ascend, right? We've seen other freshmen really develop over the course of a season, and KJ hasn't. It's and Jay in the chat is pointing out like the wrist injury back in January. Is that still lingering? Maybe. I don't know, but I just know that if this team is going to do anything, he is going to be a big part of it. That depending on matchups, of course.
Yeah,
the team is talented enough that they can win without him having a great game. But this team's ceiling is significantly higher if he does play like he did in the first half of the season. And he has had good games in the second half of the season. He's just been wildly inconsistent. And turnovers have been the only consistent thing about him this entire season. So I would feel it's hard for me to be hard on an 18-year-old kid. It really is. I'm just acknowledging that, yeah, the turnovers are bad and he needs to be better. That's it. I think anything else, I think it's unfair personally, but I can't tell fans how to fan. So,
right.
All right. I don't have anything else. I'll probably do some sort of a tournament preview next Monday. Maybe Sonny will join me for that. We'll see. But Sonny, everyone watching here probably knows where you're at. But in case they don't, let them know where you're at, man.
Yeah, Locked On Illini. If you're an Illini fan, I'm producing content every single day. The Monday through Friday, and I try to do weekends too. And so I'll be doing a show Sunday night once those brackets come out. Just talk about what these matchups are, because we learned today that this team is going to be matchup dependent. So if you're an Illini fan, again, Locked On Illini, find me over there on social medias, Locked On Illini, whichever social media, or the Sunny V marked right there on Twitter. If you just want to talk to me personally, I always enjoy banter back and forth. I'm always DMing Cody late at night, and we're always talking sports and content creation, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I always forget to put the Discord link in this, but I'm sure it's easy to go find. So give that a search as well. And if you go to his YouTube channel, it's probably in one of the descriptions of the last video. So
it's in the description of Locked On Illini's show. Yeah. So join us in the Discord. We almost have 100 people in there now. So 100 Illini fans across the country just talking Illini sports.
Even the Cardinal fans that are in there put up with me. So I appreciate them. All right. Before I get out of here, or we get out of here, hit that like button for us. Subscribe if you're new here. Illinois loses 88-65. It was a stinker. It is one it's 1 in 2 months that I'll for sure forgot that it had it will have. It's 1 in 2 months that I'll have forgotten that happened. It's not going to linger in my soul like the Duke game did, or the loss to Michigan State at State Farm. It's not one of those, but it's a disappointing loss, and certainly should give us some concern going into next Thursday or next Friday against whoever. But we'll see. March Madness is here, and I'm ready to find out what this team has in it. So we'll see then. Thanks for everyone for watching. Again, hit that like button on your way out. I appreciate y'all's support. Bye.